The big southeast snowstorm is winding down, and the next snowy system is winding up. Plus, the streak is over, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a good long time. I've got some really fascinating stuff going to show you today. I think you'll find interesting. Going to get to your forecast, too, in just a minute. But before we do, I've been reading through the comments, finally catching up. It's been a really busy couple of weeks weather-wise, and you guys have been very gracious in your response to these videos. And I can't thank you enough for all of the new subscribers and all of the comments and all the thoughtfulness that you have shared with me and with this channel. And I want to take a minute to respond to some things that I'm seeing in the comments. And just know if you don't want to hear this part, you can skip right ahead. I've put timestamps down in the description. You can see it there, or you can scroll across the timeline, get right to the weather stuff, and you don't have to deal with the commentary. All right, so I'm message to viewers and response to comments. Going to talk a minute, and then we're going to get into the weather forecast. First of all, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button below, like the content, and leave a comment. Let me know where you're commenting from. Most importantly, if there's anything I can be in prayer about, please put it in the comments section. And that is a good segue into one of the things that I wanted to mention today. So, scrolling through the comments, so many of you have left me wonderful prayer requests and have indicated that you're praying for me, the channel, my family, and our friend Charlie that's been in the hospital, and really appreciate all of that support. Thank you for it. Others, however, have said, "This is a weather show, and I don't want to hear about prayer requests or religion or anything else." Well, my friends, I'm not going to preach to you on this channel. That's not what we're about. But this show is about me, and it's about us. It is about the weather, too. But God has blessed me in my life, and I want to honor Him, and I want to build a community where we can connect and be together around certain things. And one of those things is praying for each other. And if that's not your thing, you don't have to participate in it. You don't have to do it. But I want to make sure that I honor God. And this channel is going to do that too. And if that's not your thing, that's totally fine. I get it. I totally understand if you don't want to be here. But in any event, it's a free country. You can go where you want and do what you want and watch what you want. But, I appreciate all of you who have supported me in that way. And if you choose not to, that's totally fine. Love you guys anyway and appreciate everybody that watches, and even those that make comments that I don't necessarily agree with. Thank you for taking the time to put those comments in there. Second thing I wanted to address is several people have been very kind and have donated to the site and to me, my family, and certainly appreciate all of that. Nathan has done that. Teresa has done that. Greg has done that. Progressive Ohio has done that. Emerald has done that. Emerald's my first subscriber, and she made a donation. And I want to thank you all for the very generous spirit and the kindness that you've shown me. Thank you so much for that. I just blown away. All right, so I appreciate it so much. And the third thing is, a lot of times in the comments people say, "Well, you just talk about the Carolinas." Well, I do live in the Carolinas, because I live in Morgan, North Carolina. And the last couple of weeks, we've had across the southeast, particularly the last couple of days in the Carolinas, we've spent a lot of time focusing on this snowstorm. There hasn't been much going on outside of this around the U.S. I covered the entire U.S. Earlier in the year, we had a big atmospheric river event over in the Pacific Northwest and on the West Coast. I covered that extensively. We had some snow in the Northwest or the Northeast. I've covered that a lot. We had a big snowstorm through the Ohio Valley and center of the country up in the Midwest. Been covering all of those areas, and I try to get around to all of it too. I don't want to leave anybody out in the cold, so to speak. And sometimes people will say, "Hey, what about Clemson?" or "What about Athens?" or "What about, Murfreesboro?" Well, you know, I can do my best to get to those, and I will definitely try to do that, but I cannot mention every single city, in every single show, or every single state, in every single show. But I do my very best to try to make sure that I'm connecting to all of the states in the area that there is a specific threat. I know some people say, well, you know, so-and-so don't do it, or so-and-so don't do it. I get it. It's hard to do. Keep the video at a reasonable length. All right. But I will try to do it. You have my word on that. I'm not just focusing on the Carolinas. We'll take a look at everything else now that we, have this snowstorm out of the way. There's nothing else going on here in the Carolinas right this minute. And so we'll take a look at the whole entire country and, snorts, cover all of the weather. That is what I will do. And if I leave somebody out, sorry about that. I'll get you next time. All right, so, I got you. And the last thing is people say, you talk too much, you give too much detail. And, I just want to hear the weather forecast. Well, this weather show is about weather. We're going to talk about the weather. Sometimes I'm going to take the opportunity to show you some things about the weather. If you want to learn, this is a great site to do that, because I'm going to do my best to teach you the things that I know, and the things that I see that are relevant to how the weather comes together, and how things happen. So when you talk to your friends about it and somebody says, well, hey, weathermen are always wrong, well, you have the understanding because you're smart, and you tune into this channel, that the weather, the atmosphere is a complete fluid, and we don't have the ability to measure the entirety of the atmosphere. And the models do the best they can to guess what's between the measurements and then extrapolate that out. And you of course know that that extrapolation process introduces error, and the farther you go out in time, the greater the error becomes. Okay, so that's why we have the limitations that we have in terms of forecasting. We have to rely on pattern recognition, as well as experience, and forecast skill and all of that. So those are the kinds of things that you understand by watching what I do here. And if this is not the right fit, certainly places like Max Velocity and Ryan Hall and Weatherman Plus, they just get right into the weather and they edit out. Every 3/3 sentence is an edit. And that's not what I do. We talk. We don't do a lot of edits here. All right? So just you get me and you get the show. And if you like that, I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in and subscribing and being part of it, and being part of the community. If you don't like it, well, there are plenty of other options out there, and something else might be a better fit. So, in any event, thank you. And that is my commentary to you. I am getting through all of the comments, and I will pray for every request that you make, and I certainly appreciate all of your support. Now, got something interesting and fun for you. Some of you ask, how do we measure snow accurately? Well, put together a little video clip on that. Here you go. Well, you finally get how to accurately measure snowfall, that heavy snow. You want to take that perfect observation. Well, today I'm going to show you how to measure like a pro. First thing you need is your trusty yardstick. Snow piles up high and deep. You don't want to be left out in the cold by having a tool that's too short, like a ruler. But that's only half the story. You got to find the perfect place to take that measurement. Some people like to use the ground, but unfortunately the ground temperature is a little bit warm, and you lose a little bit to melting. That's why I always recommend an elevated surface that's flat. You can get down and don't have to worry about melting like a car top. Unfortunately, this snow is light and fluffy and it's been blown around by the wind, so a car top just won't do. Well, at last, we found the perfect place. Top of boxwood. It's relatively flat. It's been undisturbed by the wind. We can get a good measurement here. Stick your ruler in. You want to push it all the way down until it stops to get the full depth of what you're measuring here. All the way down. Looks like we've got ourselves a 2-footer. Didn't think it snowed that much, but numbers don't lie. All right, my friends, that's how you take a measurement like a pro. Next time, I'm going to show you some of the best home remedies you can make after you take the yellow out of yellow snow. Take care, everyone. See, we like to weather analysis and roundup have a little bit of fun here at Cold Rain's Weather World. Now the streak is over. For the first time in more than 10 years, I've had more than 4 inches of snowfall on my house, and we had about 6 inches here in Morgan. Here is, by the way, before we get there, you see this picture? Look at the cold weather here in the northeast or the southeastern U.S. You see this anomaly? This is 20+ degrees below normal in some spots. The coldest anomaly in the entire planet sits right over the southeastern United States. Isn't that something interesting to consider? You are colder relative to normal if you live in this pink area than anybody else on the entire world right now. So you can tell all your friends about that. That might be a feat that's interesting, and it might not be. Let's take a look at this. All right, I'm going to show you a couple of things that I think are interesting. Here's the final preliminary snowfall map. All right, so we're going to have a final map at some point. We talked about a couple things here I think that are interesting to show you. Look at this. We had a big sort of enhanced snowfall area here in the mountains with upslope air coming up over the mountains, rising up. So you had extra snow here in the mountains. Then we had a little down-sloping zone where cold rain lives right there. All right. Then we had our next area of interesting snow. And this was because of that feature that I talked about yesterday, that 850 frontogenesis warm infection. That little area there, set right up over the Piedmont of North Carolina, dipping into southern Virginia into southern South. Northern South Carolina had enhanced snowfall rates, and that area just sat there for a good while, and we saw plenty of snow in those areas. The orange here, the yellow is 6 to 8 inches of snow. The blue is basically 4 to 6, and then it drops off after that. So Atlanta, you got about an inch of snow. Somewhere, especially in the northern and eastern sections of the metropolitan area here, and then back into North Georgia, saw more snow, even snow down into Savannah. Look at that. All of North Carolina, all of South Carolina, some of southern Virginia got some snow, and the first orange color is 8 to 12 inches, and then even some spots that saw more than 12 inches of snow in that enhanced phrenologenesis band. All right. Orenic band. And then we saw a minimum here. We talked about a dry slot, and technically it's probably not a dry slot. It's plenty of moisture in the atmosphere, a little mid-level drying. But basically you had enhanced lift here with the upper low, enhanced lift here with the coastal, and a relative minimum of lift in here. And some of the models were showing that. They were showing it in different places, and this map is a good reflection of that. All right, so that's a little bit of a recap of what we saw here in Cold Rain's world. I'll show you what we saw in a second. This is what they saw at the Outer Banks. This is courtesy of the ACUE Weather Twitter page. And look at this. Just strong winds 60 to 70 mph. A lot of times you see this in the summertime with hurricanes. Well, this is a snow cane, I guess, at the Outer Banks there. It was snowing to beat the band with Mag's Head picking up snow with very high winds. Very interesting to see that. This is Cold Rain's hood. Look at this. About 6 inches of snow on the ground. Broke the streak and hopefully it will stay broken. It was a beautiful snow. Fluffy. It had stuck to everything. Hard to measure because it was blowing around quite a bit, but went out there and got a little bit more snow last night. Here is the Raleigh, basically the Raleigh snowfall map. And look at this. This is their preliminary snowfall map. This is just ugly. That was a brutal dry slot that set up here all day long. If you're out in New England or out in California, you don't care so much about this, but it's just an interesting weather phenomenon that we see. And this could apply to you guys sometimes too. And so we just sat here on the radar image all day long. It's just dry. My friends are like, when is it going to snow? When is it going to snow? But I told you yesterday, even eventually. Even if you got a dry slot or a snow minimum, it would still be a minimum, and you still would pick up some snow. And it looks like most everyone got at least 2-3 inches of snow out of this eventually. Now here's what's going on. Look at the satellite image. Look at this feature here. I told you this thing is bombing out. Got thunderstorms all around here with the lightning strikes. Look at that, man. That is just a strong, strong storm. And then there's something else interesting here. You see all of this white stuff that doesn't move on the satellite image. That is snow on the ground. It is rare to see this kind of an image this far south these days, and so don't take it for granted. This is a very interesting satellite image. Got some more clouds coming in and some rain in the Pacific Northwest up here. Few high clouds moving in. Actually, some low clouds here too with snow reporting. Snow reported in Minnesota and Iowa, picking up some light snow there, and that's reflected very well on the radar. You can see from back into central Minnesota, back through Iowa, parts of Missouri. And if we zoom in here, you can actually see this a little bit more. Not much going on anywhere else in the country outside of the Pacific Northwest, but Cedar Rapids down to Quincy, Des Moines picking up a little snow. St. Cloud, Minneapolis, Rochester, you're kind of in between right now. Maybe a snow shower or two down here at Huntington, West Virginia. And look over here, West Virginia. See, I got you. And then look over here, Kitty Hawk. Cape Pattis still snowing that is pulling away, and will do so rapidly through the afternoon. And up here in the northwest, heavy rain from Victoria all the way down through Seattle, Tacoma, Portland, Salem, and some snow in the higher elevations and over here in the Olympics as well. And that will be progressing through the day as well. Your alert map fairly tame. Couple of more hours of winter weather advisory for another inch of snow maybe up here in Minnesota. But that is winding down. All of the winter storm warnings are gone except for the Outer Banks and far eastern North Carolina. Those will be expiring today. Cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings still up. Some of these will go away and some will remain. Florida, you even had some snow here in the eastern sections of Florida this morning. That is how unbelievably anomalous the system was to affect the entire southeast with pretty much all snow. That is a feat, my friends. You don't see that very much. You could see cold weather all the way down into Miami. Could even get a freeze down here. And the falling agrees, as I've told you. Everybody else looking pretty good. Surface map, there it is. High pressure in control. Little wave working through the Midwest here, and a little trough coming into the southeast. And that snow will be exiting. Got some snow that with that system in the northwest will be working through Montana and Idaho, and the northern sections up here. But other than that, not a lot going on. Fairly tranquil period. Now, a couple of interesting things here. This is the current snow depth. Canada covered with snow. So when Arctic air comes in, it just sits there. It refrigerates. It doesn't modify all that much. Sometimes you just get pockets of dry ground here, and the air will modify. And look at this snow back through the Mississippi Valley, and now down into the southeast. This isn't complete. I think by the next couple of days, we'll have a better handle on exactly how much snow fell. But look at these areas out here outside of the Rocky Mountains. Not much out in the west. Thought that was interesting to show. This map shows you how much snow has fallen so far from the 1st of October through January the 30th. So we don't see our big snow down here. But look at this. We've got tons of people have already seen a lot of snow. So our friends in Iowa, our friends in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pittsburgh, you finally got snow here in central Pittsburgh. Lot of snow been falling up here in the northeast in New England. Maybe a little lower relative to normal in some spots, but plenty of snow back through northern Virginia. Still got to make up some ground here in the eastern mid-Atlantic, and maybe a little bit more to come here in parts of the south and southeast before winter is over. You guys are a little bit of a snow hole in some of the lower elevations out west. That I thought was interesting. And here's one more thing related to snow and ice. Great Lakes starting to freeze over. Lake Erie is almost all the way frozen over. Lake Huron is getting frozen. All right. And just some edges here around Michigan, Superior and Ontario. So, not quite yet. Those are still ice-free, but looking at iced lake area is almost iced over. It's very, very cold this year. We will see how that progresses. Now, let's go to this display here. This shows you the departure from normal for the month of January. It's in the books, and much of the eastern U.S., with the exception of the southern tier, has averaged below normal for the month of January. The deeper the blues, the more below normal looking at maybe -5 up here, -7 up toward the Great Lakes, and parts of the interior northeast and -1 or 2 down here in the upper southeast. And then you get a little bit farther to the west and you're really baking out here. It's been above normal under relentless ridging. That's what we've seen, and that will continue for at least the next little bit. All right, so that's what's going on in terms of the weather forecast weather wrap-up. Now, this is the weather over the next week. All right, no massive storms. Just number 1, right out of the gate, no massive storms, but we do have a couple of winter weather threats that could be impactful. So, as we head on out to Monday morning, another little system working in to the northwest. And that system that's over the Midwest today will progress through the Great Lakes, bringing some light snow. So, no big deal. You can handle that. Nothing going on in the southeast. But what's happening here? Look at that. Start to get into Tuesday morning. Start to get a little bit of an area of low pressure in the southern stream. To develop, work through the Tennessee Valley, dragging a cold front through. More Arctic air behind this. And look at this. Starting to see some snow breakout potentially. This is a European model. The GFS, the Canadian, some of the models bring this snow, even a little bit of ice a little farther south. So this whole entire area from Pennsylvania down to North Carolina, we're going to need to watch back into Kentucky and Virginia and parts of Tennessee, West Virginia. We need to watch this as we come through. It's going to be light. So we're not looking at a big snowstorm like we just had, but certainly some areas could see some snowflakes falling yet again. Very cold. Another clipper moving in. And as we head through the week, another clipper will dive out somewhere from the Midwest and northern plains, back through the Great Lakes, into the northeast, into the Ohio Valley. Could bring you a burst of snow through those areas too, to round out the week. And then that's what we have in store for this upcoming week. Temperature-wise, we're going to have to pay attention in the east for very cold temperatures, at least for the next couple of days. All right, so highs today not getting above freezing for much of the upper southeast Tennessee Valley back into the northern plains, with the coldest readings into the northeast and down the slopes of the Appalachians. Minus single digits in the Midwest through the Great Lakes. Interior northeast with single digits making it all the way down into the southeast. Radiational cooling if the winds die down. We're going to start to see single digits pop up here in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and to the north of there tomorrow as we go through the week. Going to get up above freezing, get that melting process underway in the southeast. Plenty of snow still here in the Ohio Valley. So you guys are going to stay cold and temperatures will stay above freezing, and then a couple of more of these going to be very cold. Look at this, Florida continuing to stay cold. Boy, oh boy, you guys are just getting the cold that you don't normally get down here. So bundle up, very cold. Minus teens across the north and very cold. That is, when you go out the door Tuesday morning, that's what it looks like. And then you head out Tuesday afternoon, really starting to rebound. So things are going to be melting quickly in the southeast as we head toward midweek. And then eventually another cool shot will come in. 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. Check this out. Very cold in the same areas that's been cold. All right. So east, particularly in the northeast, mid-Atlantic, going to stay cold. Very warm above, relative to normal out west. A little bit of a mixed bag here in Alaska, with below readings to the north and above normal readings to the south. Near normal in Hawaii. As far as the precipitation goes, we're going to look at moisture returning back here into the western zones. The nation's midsection, Alaska, Hawaii, above normal, and below normal across the east, going to be drying out here. Space weather and geological update. One thing we have not taken a look at in a while is space weather. Alright, so I'm going to show you a couple of things. We got some sunspots turning in. We're going to have to start watching this again. It's been quiet. Look at this X-ray flux going up. We're seeing some solar flaring come off as on the left side of the limb as those sunspots turn around. Alright, no solar storms right now, or no big solar storms. We're in, I think, maybe, let's see what we got here. Those are R2 conditions. So, we're not looking at solar storm conditions yet, but we're going to see that pick up potentially. Here's a big sunspot. Look at this. 4366. That's nasty. It's nasty, my friends. Nasty. Look at this nasty. You see that negative charges and positive charges all intermingled together. That is a recipe for potentially big solar flaring. Another CME could see some auroras if that happens. So watching that closely over the next few days. No big earthquakes. Had something up here in the Yukon like a magnitude 3. Yeah, 3. 6 and then a couple here along the west coast, out in toward Nevada. Just very, very small stuff. So, nothing big going on there. There's your map again. And the last thing I want to show you here, and we will be all going home. All right? So look at this. Moon phases. Tomorrow is Groundhog Day, by the way. Have you ever watched the movie Groundhog Day? If you watch this channel, you probably have. It's an excellent movie. Excellent, excellent, excellent movie. And very fun to watch. Always watch it on Groundhog Day. But what happens tonight? It is the snow moon. And how fitting it is for the east to be under a full moon with snow on the ground. First full moon in February is called the snow moon. We did a moon series weather IQ question set, which I'm going to bring some weather IQ questions back here pretty soon. And snorts, we did that in the summer. We learned about all the full moons of each month. All right, so that is the show for today. Get outside, enjoy a moonwalk, and watch the snow glitter on the ground and everything be lit up. It's just a beautiful thing if you can be in a place where there's no natural or there's no light pollution. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we will be back tomorrow with another video and take a look at what is going on in the weather world. In the meantime, this cold rain reminding you the weather runs 24/7. But I got you covered. 48114 right here. Cold Rain's Weather World. Take care, everybody. Have a great day and God bless.